It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
All right. Well, welcome to another edition of our Heart-Driven Hustle Create the Ripple podcast. We're having a lot of fun here today. Today is the first day that I get to record one of these in my new space. Yes, I will give you all a tour at some point. But today I want to say a big, huge kudos again to the platform that hosts us, the Divas That Care. I am absolutely in love with what these ladies are busy putting out there. And so regardless of how you've found us today, it is so important that before you leave, that you like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever button is available to you. This is one of the best ways for you to give us a high five and a kudos and to let us know that the content we're putting out is really what you're wanting to be hearing. Now, certainly head over to divasthatcare.com. We have got some incredible speakers, and if you have a message that you want to share, if you've got something you want to get out there, this is definitely the place for you to do it. So today, my guest is a woman I have had a ton of respect for. We have circled each other in different circles. I've had the pleasure of hearing her speak multiple times. Woman is a game changer. So if you have found us today and you're looking for a bit of inspiration, you're looking for some wisdom, today you're in the right spot. So go grab your cup of tea, park your butt in a comfortable spot, and have a listen, because today I get to interview the amazing Stacey Berger. Now, Stacey has an incredible story. I've had the pleasure of hearing it. Stacey, I would love it if you could start us off by just sharing who you are, what you're about, where you're going, the elevator pitch, but give us a couple of minutes on that so people who have never met you before can understand why I'm such a fangirl.
Oh, thanks, Candace, and it's so great to be here. Thanks for having me. And you're right, we've been circling around each other in those circles for a while, so it's nice to be here together, one-on-one.
One-on-one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like to start my story by just sharing that, I had a great life for a long time. I had climbed the corporate ladder, was in an executive position, mentoring entrepreneurs, working with different business leaders, loved the work that I was doing for a long time. And that afforded me, a beautiful home, drove a nice car, was married to my best friend, had some wonderful kids, and life looked really, really good. And for a long time, I was really happy inside that life. Until one day I woke up and I realized that I was no longer feeling fulfilled. And for me, that showed up of just not wanting to get out of bed anymore, not wanting to go to work, just not feeling inspired by what I was doing. And I'm sure there's somebody listening that can relate to that right now, where maybe feeling stuck in the grind, so to speak. And that's where I was. There was lots of changes going on in the industry that I was in. I was no longer able to make the impact I was once able to make. And for me, now I had these 3 little kids at home. And as it would go, I would often be up and out of the house and they're still in bed, and I'm coming home to a dark house. They're back in bed. And for any mother out there, the guilt of that. Love my
it's
career.
It's a thing, right? Mom guilt is a thing.
Mom guilt is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be successful in my career. I never had the desire to be a stay-at-home parent. That wasn't my path. And there was guilt with that too, a lot of criticism that came with that. And so I was being torn is what it felt like. And the conditions and the circumstances, Jeff, stay-at-home dad. So I'm the breadwinner, and never felt like it would be possible to make a change.
Right.
I have a mortgage to pay. I've got bills to pay, right? And just feeling stuck. And I had no idea how to get out. And so what I did, what most people would do, I got up and I kept doing what I needed to do. I kept going to work, and it felt like every day there was a little bit inside of me that died. And then there was one day, and I've coined it the what if game, or the when then game. I'm playing the when then game.
Yeah.
When this changes, then I'll make a change. When my kids are older, when there's more money in the bank, when the circumstances change. And I'm sure there's someone listening that's in that game right now. looking at their outside conditions and circumstances. Well, if I could lose the weight, if I wasn't alone, if I had more experience, and we get stuck in that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Been there, done that, got the shirt, right? Like,
yeah. And that's where I was. And I was in that for over 2 years, just playing that, circling around the conditions. And then there was this moment, and I can still remember it as clear as day, where Jeff and I are sitting on the couch, and I'm in this when then and if then and maybe, and all of a sudden it was like this game was talking to me, and it was saying, wake up. Why are you waiting for somebody else or something outside of you to change so that you can be happy? And it was like this jolt of lightning. I don't know if you've ever had those moments. It was the wake up call I needed, because that's exactly what I had been doing. And in that moment, as I looked at that, I made a decision. And I made a decision for my life. I made a decision that I wanted to make bigger impact in the world. I wanted to do work that I loved, and I wanted the freedom and the flexibility to be with my kids.
You wanted your cake and you wanted to eat it too?
Oh,
I love this. And so for our listeners, I hope you're really grasping this. And this is big, Stacey. So I don't know if you've had caught any of the other podcasts I've done, but I often say, like, when I'm sitting here talking, it's like you went into my week and you're pulling out pieces. It's so neat, right? Just synchronicities all over the place, which for any of us who, believe in that, it always tends to show up. And this week I had a conversation with someone who said, well, you can't have that. And I said, no. Cancel, delete. In my world, in this space, right? Which is the only space I have to, win at. Because once the decision's been made, the magic begins to happen. Yeah. Was no, I actually believe that we can have it all. Balance is definitely a myth, for sure. However, you can create a life that you love. So I absolutely love it. And I just want our, if they weren't hanging on the end of their seats anyway, to see where you did with your life, I want them to really get this, that if there's that something inside you, and I'll often say, if there's that want for more in there, God, universe, whoever it is, it's there for a reason. And so even if it's impossible for other people, it's probably possible for you. So what happened for you next, Stacey?
Yeah, so in making that decision, that's when everything started to change. and so I'm going to say this: decision matched with action, right? Beautiful. Those are two key things. In that decision, I made a decision, and the next day I started the process of ending a 16-year career. In the absence of knowing what I was going to do next, in the absence of it being convenient, being comfortable, and that's a big step too, and really, really important. And it was the moment that I made that decision and matched it with action. That's when, like you just said, the magic started to happen. Mm-hmm. And I hired a coach. I hired a mentor right away. I knew how important that was to help me really discover what was next. And then I discovered a coaching certification program that absolutely had my name on it. Loved what they taught, was so in alignment, and so was certified. It was an extremely intense process, but loved every moment of it. And now I've been mentoring people and speaking internationally and working with people all over the world for the last 6 years, really helping them discover what their passion is, and then not only have the idea, but how do you turn the idea into your reality. Wow. And so doing work that I love, but most importantly, I don't come home to a dark house anymore. I mean, I'm here with my kids, and when they were going to school, walking them to the bus, picking them up, and now that they are at home being schooled, having this freedom and this flexibility to be with them, and just really creating these incredible moments every day, not waiting for the big occasions. And I can truly say life isn't perfect, but I love my life. And I'm so grateful to that version of me that said yes to life being different.
I really love that you shared that piece, because I think a lot of times people just see one part of your story. They don't always see the backdrop. And I think I agree with you, right? Like, with what I'm doing now, I feel like I say, I have to back up. I'm here because I started here. There was a desire here. Then I did this, and then I tweaked that, and then I did this, and I tweaked that, and then I did this, and now here I am, right? And I think that for a lot of people, yourself included, you have to start first. And actually, one of the very first podcasts that I did in this series for Candace Gish was somebody had said, you have to take a running leap. And I said, but the funny thing about a leap, when the universe is saying, when source is saying, I want you to do something, or you're just ready for a change, as in your case, it's not like a little leap. It's like, get as far back from the cliff as you possibly can. And like, right? Like just run. And then, it's so interesting, this whole concept. And I think that for a lot of people, we want to know what's happening next. But the funny thing about it is you don't know until you leave the edge. And then, like you say, you found a great program, and it was a process to get from there to here. And I love that you've shared that. I love that you talked about decision backed by action, because especially for those of us who are good at vision and we know where we want to go in life, it's not enough to simply create the vision. You also need the action plan. And then guess what? You actually have to do it. And it's funny because somebody said, it's not the going to the gym that's the problem, right? It's the getting your shoes on to go to the gym. Yeah. For me, it's like rolling out the yoga mat. It's like, if I just get it out on the floor, don't worry that you didn't sweep the floor yet. I'll actually do the thing. So I love it when our guests just kind of get to sort of run with the call. And obviously, with you being an incredible international speaker, speak to that woman who has felt some changes with the recent world change. I mean, the world's been crazy this year, like 2020. Did not see this one coming. And there's been a lot of opportunity for change. That's sometimes a good thing and a bad thing, because I know that for myself, my business did have to shift and change. And I think those of us who have been sort of comfortable change, but there's a lot of people who didn't really want to change. And what would be your advice now? I mean, obviously they're here, they're listening to you, they're listening to me. What would you say to that person that maybe they're not here by accident?
Yeah, well, I don't believe any of us are here by accident, first of all. I think it's really important to understand that life is always seeking greater expression through each and every one of us, that we are always being called for more, for greater, to do more, to be more, to have more. And most of us have been trained to resist that. And as we resist it, the signs and the signals get louder. And we're in a global shakeup right now. It's gotten really, really loud because I believe that many of us have been resisting that change, not listening to that life that's seeking greater expression through us, but it will express. And if we don't listen to it and work with it intentionally, it shows up in unlived life. It shows up in disease in our body. It shows up in troubles in our relationships. It shows up in problems in our bank account. It's expressing itself, and really important to honor that. And I would say it's not bad. It's not wrong. Lots of us have been trained to think that our problems, our challenges, they're bad, they're embarrassing, we should be ashamed of them. But if we can just reframe that and say, hey, God's spirit, the universe has a bigger plan for me, and it's trying to get my attention. And now, am I going to choose to listen to it or continue to resist it? Mm-hmm. And so I would say pay attention, because it'll keep speaking to you. So pay attention.
I agree with that completely. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners are doing the exact same thing, right? If you don't learn a lesson the first time, it's funny how life keeps on giving you those opportunities. And I agree with you. I mean, it was significant to me that the second we all went indoors, we saw nature respond in a very positive way. That I was like, this wasn't a good situation, but there were elements of it that were good. I mean, even in my own life, it was a big push to take my business from 75% online to 100% online, which opened up some opportunities for me to be more present and to do more things and stuff like this. And I remember thinking to myself, probably even talked about it on one of our podcasts, is I always had the opportunity because I've been working for myself for a number of years. So I could have stayed home. I could have implemented some of these, practices, but I didn't, for whatever pressure, standing up, boundaries, it doesn't really matter. But now it's sort of been, as we're re-engaging with the world, right? Getting back out there with, roll-up plans to get life back to new normal. what elements of, being at home are people maybe wanting to keep, or to, what elements of these that maybe we didn't love in the beginning, we could potentially use for really, really good moving forward. Now, I know you would really wanted to talk about vision today. So this is definitely the part of the conversation where I love to just hand it over and say, if there's a message that was on your heart, either tonight, this morning, whenever it was, when you were thinking about joining me today, I'd love for you to share that. So call is all yours.
Yeah, I love what you just said. And I think this is the opportunity right now, is as life is opening up, so to speak. And we really have a choice now, each one of us, is, are we going to reopen and go back to life the way it was? Or are we going to choose something differently? And we call this either living by design or by default. So design is when we say, hey, I'm going out into my life and I'm going to create an experience. Each one of us are creative beings. We're constantly creating. We're just either doing that intentionally and by design, or we're doing it by default. And the default is simply repeating old patterns, old habits. It's simply reacting to what our boss says is possible, what our family wants us to do, what media wants us to do, what the economy says we can do. And, over 90% of this population on the planet today is operating in that default setting. They're just consistently repeating old patterns and living that same life over and over again. And I would say this is the opportunity. This is your opportunity today to say, here's what I would love in my life. Here's what I want to create. I have no idea how it's going to happen. We put the how on hold. And really imagine you've been given this blank slate, and it may not feel like that right now, but just imagine if you were given this blank book and you could write this next chapter any way you wanted, what would that look like for you? And everything starts in our thoughts before it will ever exist in our reality. So taking some time and pausing and getting curious about that. If I could create this any way I wanted, what would that look like? And to start to design that intentionally, so it's not just back to the rat race, back to the circumstances, back to conditional based living. That's each one of our opportunity right now. And when we do that for ourselves, we also do it for the planet.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I've got like tears behind my eyes, because I actually had an opportunity this weekend to share with someone that I keep my vision boards, right? And for me, vision boards take many different spaces. So if you don't know what that is, look it up. But it's interesting how the things I have put on paper have all come true in one form or another, right down to I was sharing with someone that I wanted to live on a certain street, and I ended up getting a house that was a block off. Like, it was sort of like, here's the street and I was living over here. And to be honest, that was a better street than the one does that make sense? I remember thinking, this is even better. But again, I didn't plan it. I didn't go looking for it. I didn't even know that that was there until I got there. And I remember thinking, you have to be really careful what you're wishing for. So those underlying thoughts, those underlying currents, those underlying things. And I agree with you. What an incredible opportunity we have. There's been a shakeup, and we only ever change, right, through shock or repetition. We've had all one heck of a shock. So this is a brilliant opportunity, if you were looking for a chance to change, to really do that. Now, obviously, you do coaching, you do speaking, you do mentoring. We're going to make sure that if you are in love with Stacey and you want to have more Stacey, all of her stuff is going to be like below. So scroll on down. There'll be links, Facebook. I'm sure there's all over there. What have you got up and coming, Stacey, if somebody's feeling like, I really want to connect and I really want to, be a part of what Stacey's got and they want a little more of you? What is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, two things. If you're really ready for that change and you want to have a conversation, if we're a fit, every week I book a few spots for complimentary strategy sessions where we get to have a conversation about where you are, where you want to go, understanding what's holding you back and what your best next steps are. So we can connect and have that link as well. And if you're not sure what that design is for you and you just want to start that visioning process, I do have a free download. It's a 30-minute audio that you can listen to. It'll help you take you through a process to really start putting pen to paper. Beautiful. And creating that design. So staceyberger.ca is where you can find both of those, access to both of those links.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. You heard it here. If you missed it again, it will just be below. So scroll on down. And again, thank you so much for Stacy for joining me today. This is good. So good.
Thanks for having me, Candace, and thanks for the work you're doing in the world.
Oh, we got to do a little bit in peace. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, especially coming from you. And again, if you are somebody who's listened today and there's value, go like, go love, go share, go comment, subscribe. It'll be in one of the corners, I'm sure. But seriously, that is how you give us a high five online. And if you know that there is somebody in your world that would benefit from either having a place and a platform to share their message, get them in touch with me. If there's somebody who you know has had a burning desire, maybe shared with you over a glass of wine, you could give them the gift by making sure that they have this podcast in their inbox, in their mailbox, wherever you need to send it, so that they can get in touch with Stacy. So thank you again to the Divas That Care for the network who made this possible. Twisted my arm, by the way, Stacy, that I would actually start to do these. And we're pretty excited to be here. So thank you everybody for listening in. This was a wonderful show, and we will catch you guys again. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.